This review was made possible by the support of my patrons. Patrons get early access to these reviews and also get their names in the credits, as well as access to a Mr. TARDIS Discord server. More details in the description. With last week's episode, Once Upon Time, it's good to see Doctor Who Flux take things a bit more back to basics with Village of the Angels, which reunites showrunner Chris Chibnall with writer Maxine Alderton, who you folks may remember giving fans the head and shoulders highlight of Series 12, The Haunting of Villa Diodati. That story, primarily let down due to the episodes that immediately followed it, was a moody, atmospheric and character-driven thrill ride through gothic horror, which made Maxine Alderton an ideal co-writer to bring the Weeping Angels back, a villain who arguably peaked during their initial appearance in 2007 and have found it difficult to step out of that shadow since, though not through lack of trying. But let me back up. Our episode opens directly where Once Upon Time left off, with the Angels having possession of the phone box. The 13th Doctor is able to eject the Angel with some madcap science, and she arrives along with Yaz and Dan in 1967 Devon, where a young girl has gone missing. A woman is skulking around the graveyard harassing the vicar, and Professor Jericho is conducting experiments on Claire Brown, whom we met in the Halloween apocalypse and got zapped by an angel. With the Angels amassing and the village apparently due to disappear on this very night, it's a fight for survival as the Doctor tries to protect Claire and Jericho from the encroaching Angels, with Yaz and Dan unable to help, having been sent to 1901 due to their own altercation with a Weeping Angel. So, with Village of the Angels providing a slight detour from the overarching Flux story, is this a highlight of Series 13 alongside the War of the Sontarans, or is this another Weeping Angel misfire? Well, let's focus on the unambiguous success of this episode first, and that's the A-plot, which follows the Doctor in Jericho's house trying to hold off the Angels and discovering exactly what they want in Claire's mind. Basically, Village of the Angels is a base under siege story, the first one since, The Haunting of Villa Diodati. Firstly, I do love how the Doctor just gets distracted by some readings on her sonic screwdriver and lets Yaz and Dan deal with the old couple trying to use the TARDIS as an actual police public call box. She just clumps her way into Jericho's office, surveys the surroundings, gets a cheeky glimpse at the house's floor plans, which pays off nicely later, and then recognises Claire from, blimey, what can only have been less than a day ago in real time. We learn that Claire had some sort of premonition before we saw her in the Halloween apocalypse, which explains why she recognised the Doctor, but I don't know, it seems a bit flimsy considering just how confident she appeared in her first appearance, especially with her knowledge of their meeting on Halloween and having to take the long way home from work. Honestly, in hindsight, the setup doesn't really add up. Claire has to be from the future, so she's able to Google the disappearing village, but part of me thinks that their first meeting should have been played a little bit differently. Anyway, it turns out there's a rogue agent hiding inside of Claire, and the other Angels want to apprehend it because it used to work for the Division, but we'll get to that later. So with the Angels assaulting Jericho's house, we have the 13th Doctor in a position that we've not really seen her in before, and that's consistently on the defense. I've said in the past that Jodie Whittaker always seemed to excel at the one-on-one confrontations with villains. This is partly because of her performance, but also because of the characterization. The Doctor has faced villains like the Daleks and the Sontarans before. She knows which buttons to press. Sometimes she was even there at those villains' very genesis and knows what can be exploited, whether it's the trigger-happy Daleks,
I called you here and you came, like obedient little pets.
or the proud Sontarans.
Take your hat off, mate! On second thoughts, put it back on.
There is some sort of knowable flaw in these characters and villains to exploit, but with the Weeping Angels, there really isn't anything to work with. Now, we know that the Angels aren't just grunts or dumb soldiers or anything. They're clearly incredibly intelligent, and they have a voice and something akin to a personality. We see this when one tries to manipulate Jericho through the TV. But when you're dealing with a more incorporeal threat and something that will resemble a statue when you're looking at it, the Doctor doesn't have any ammunition. Even as recent as her 10th incarnation, she had no idea just what the Angels' deal was.
No one quite knows where they came from, but they're as old as the universe. Or very nearly.
Heck, it wasn't until her 11th incarnation that she learned that the image of an angel can become an angel. They had to learn that factoid from a book written by Raston Jovinich. They are still a relatively unknown entity to the Doctor. She can't reason with the angels, she can't fight them or properly defeat them, she can only run. Especially when there's dozens of them laying siege to this base. Our heroes lock the door, but it obviously won't help. The angels are even sadistic enough to ring the doorbell, which was as funny as it was creepy.
Are they really ringing the doorbell?
The Doctor is away from her TARDIS, but she is dealing with 1960s technology, so she's able to create a security camera in the entrance hall, but even that's a calculated risk, as an angel can make its way through that TV screen. Even the best case scenario can't last for long, and because of this, there's a constant sense of dread. I don't think the Chibnall era has especially tried to scare its viewers, or make them scurry behind the sofa, outside of a few moments in The Haunting of Villa Diodati and arguably arachnids in the UK, but Village of the Angels grabbed me by the throat and didn't let me go. This was a tense, superb piece of scary TV, with our lead character continually on the defense in a relentless assault. She ripped up the drawing of a weeping angel earlier, only for it to reform and start appearing in the basement, so she balls it up, throws it on a fire, and then... oh dear. And just when it looks like things can't get worse, it seems that Claire is actually becoming an angel, so even if they could defend their position, one of their own could be converted at any time. It's almost like a zombie film where one of the survivors in the camp is infected. It's this constant raising of the stakes that gave me such a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach when watching.
If we can get past them, we might just stand it. Chance.
It was genuinely scary, but without jumping the shark or taking the angels too far. This really is just building up and expanding upon what we already knew about the angels, moving when unseen, the image of an angel becoming an angel and using your voice against you. We already knew all this, but it's just expanded upon. Very little new angel mythology or abilities are added here. The episode is more interested in refining what we already knew and finding ways to surprise the audience with that framework. Even the great moment of the angel appearing on Jericho's readings, it doesn't lead up to anything, but it's great imagery and it constantly leaves the audience on edge. We also get the brilliant moments with Professor Jericho, played by Kevin McNally, who was actually in the classic series as Hugo in The Twin Dilemma, so this is definitely an upgrade. But yeah, this is a wonderful performance. He feels very natural in this role. He's a bit antagonistic earlier on, but later finds his resolve and starts showing his true colours as a fighter. It's actually with his character that we find Village of the Angels' most interesting piece of subtext, and an addition which seems to further develop the angels beyond just their mechanics. When Jericho pushes the Doctor about the psychic projections that Claire has been having, the Doctor tries to sum up his character.
You're saying that because she had a premonition, a vision, it's taken psychic root within her? A real, genuine psychic manifestation?
He says she's Jericho, proper scientist, under siege from the impossible. Doesn't even stop to be scared. Just wants to understand what's beyond his comprehension.
Oh, I've seen many things beyond my comprehension, Doctor. I was one of the first British soldiers into Belsen at the end of the war. If you think a few stone statues will destroy my equilibrium, you are mistaken.
Now, the episode doesn't quite dwell on this point, but, and I'd like to thank Raven Woods in the Mr. TARDIS Discord server for bringing this to the server's attention, but Belsen is short for Bergen-Belsen, a Nazi concentration camp that was liberated near the end of the Second World War, a camp which killed an estimated 60,000 prisoners, one of whom was Anne Frank. When the British 11th Armoured Division arrived at the camp in April 1945, they discovered 60,000 more prisoners inside, most of them close to death through illness or starvation, and thousands of the dead unburied. Village of the Angels seems to be making the comparison of the Weeping Angels as an encroaching form of fascism, or comparing the witnessing of the angels to the Holocaust, a threat on your doorstep that moves around when you're not looking. This subtext isn't just a glib one-off observation, but something that Jericho tries to hit home later on.
You stop right there! You are a
observed. And that is my power over you.
For now, Jericho. But we are patient. We have time. We are all around you. We are everywhere.
As pointed out by friend of the channel Darren Mooney, if the Daleks are the evil that must be fought, the Weeping Angels are the evil that must be watched, because if you take your eyes off it and let it run rampant, even for a moment, you won't be in a position to stop it anymore. And the Angels are well aware of this power dynamic. Remember how the Angel starts its conversation with Jericho through the TV?
Do you really think you can protect them?
Who's there?
You are, Jericho. Listen to yourself, Jericho. Look away, Jericho. Look away.
First, they try to get him to doubt himself. Then they use his voice, his language and rhetoric to try and get him to turn away. They even try to emasculate him.
Always losing to a better man. A life of failure.
I love this scene. Kevin McNally's voice for the Angels is so creepy and wonderfully on point, and the smash cut of the Angel going from inside the TV screen to crawling out is just mwah. As for Claire, I didn't think there was that much to her character, but she's still at the centre of some brilliant moments, and Annabelle Scully is great here as well. I wish we got to see more of her, especially when she reveals that she's been here for 2 years. It might have made a great prologue, seeing someone from 2021 acclimatised to 1967. Oddly enough, I think Annabelle excels when she's playing the manifestation of the angel on the beach. She exudes a real quiet confidence that says a lot about this angel's personality. As for human normal Claire, one of the highlights has her going to wash her face in Jericho's bathroom, and the camera moves in close and you're expecting a jump scare or an angel to appear behind her back. But no, it's actually something much stranger, and she's got full-on angel wings. Something so obviously not natural and tied to the angels, but you've got no idea what it means in this scenario. Also, shout out to director Jamie Magnus Stone and DOP Robin Wenery for using a body double and a fake mirror to pull off this shot. It's a tried and true camera trick from films like La Haine and Terminator 2, and it's great to see it applied so brilliantly and seamlessly here. The whole episode looks gorgeous as well, and I think it's a testament to Jamie Magnus Stone and the whole production team that they can go from the Crimean War to a horror story in Devon and make it look so effortless. But with Claire, we see some other angel staples, such as skin turning into stone, dust in the eye, and we discover that the angel who had the phone box, recognisable due to the crack in its face, worked for the Division, and I like this idea that the Division would outsource some of their dirty work to other species. It is in line with what we've seen before with the Judoon. It turns out that this angel was hiding in Claire, and the angels that took her away on Halloween 2021 were searching for the rogue agent. They send Claire back to 1967 and then take the village out of time in order to entrap the angel and bring it in. Now, the angel's plan feels a bit scattershot here, like why send Claire back when they already have contact with the angel? If they didn't know where the angel was, then why did they target Claire? And as for the rogue angel, if it wanted the Doctor to get involved, then why get involved with Claire? The Doctor doesn't know Claire. Why didn't the angel target Yaz while it was harassing her through her time stream? I get the sense that Village of the Angels started off as a pre-Flux standalone script, or perhaps the beginning of a two-parter, especially because of the strength of its cliffhanger, and then had to be melded into the serialized story. So we get Claire in the Halloween apocalypse, even though the Doctor recognizing her doesn't really change or impact anything. Claire could be a complete stranger to the Doctor in this story, and nothing changes. There's a few other things that seem to lead me towards this theory, like Peggy, played by Penelope McGee in 1967, and Poppy Polivnicki in 1901. Firstly, it's a creepy and solid setup to have this old woman in the village who knows more than she's letting on, but after this opening she does just become an exposition dump near the end. Practically there's not a lot going on here other than moving the characters into 1901. Also, why does Peggy ask the Reverend to count the gravestones, knowing that the 93rd one is a weeping angel that will zap him back? Considering that she was trying to warn him to leave, it's a bit mean of her to just let him waltz into an angel's touch. Anyway, back to the point. There's also this line near the end.
He hid in you. a human to attract me.
That's not really what happened though, is it? The Angel literally hijacked the TARDIS, somehow doing it at the same time as possessing Claire, and it brought you here. Then your screwdriver picked up Claire, and here you are. Yeah, this cause and effect nature of the narrative contrasting with this revelation feels like a script that is carrying over more elements than is ideal from an earlier pre-Flux draft. Also, the Angel gets ejected from the TARDIS at the beginning, but why does it need to be near the Doctor, Yaz and Dan for the plan to work? It's a cool way to start the episode, but the Doctor letting the Angel deliberately get closer just feels like an artificial stakes raiser. Anyway, when they land, we've got Yaz and Dan utilising that flat team structure by trying to search for Peggy. I really like how Dan just goes along with everything, but not forgetting his manners and thanking the Doctor for her risky plan. Dan is here to try and help, but Yaz takes point, even using her police training to try and get more information about Peggy.
This is your daughter?
My great niece. She's been in our care since her parents died.
Anything else we might need to know about her?
Why would you need to know anything?
If we find her, we might want to talk to her, so any information on what she's like or that might make her feel safe, that would be helpful.
She's a 10-year-old girl. How much is there to know?
It's a really natural way to give Yaz agency within the story that ties into what we already know about her. Also, Peggy's great uncle Gerald is a real piece of work and I'm here for it. Fun fact, the actor who plays Gerald is Victor Brimble, who played one of the Silurians in Warriors of the Deep. This episode really is a season 21 redemption special, isn't it?
Yes!
Also, with Gerald and Jean, we learn what happens if you get touched by an angel twice, and you're not Rory Williams. Damn, Peggy doesn't care either, what a messed up kid. Now, as brilliant as John Bishop and Mandip Gill are in these scenes, especially Mandip, like, how do actors do that? You know, the whole crying but without blinking your eyes that's in style right now. I'm mesmerised by that. Anyway, while the visual and the imagery of the village just floating in space with the boundaries slowly being eroded away is brilliant, it's hard to ignore that this subplot is just meandering around a bit. Now, normally I wouldn't mind this too much because it means that structurally the script can move back and forth between the plot points to give the audience a breather from the A-plot with the Dr. Jericho and Claire. However, these two aren't the only stories at play here, because we have Belle landing on the planet Pisano and meeting Namaka Ost Parvus Poe, played by Blake Harrison, and his natural comedic delivery justifies having a name like Namaka Ost Parvus Poe.
I'm Namaka Ost Parvus Poe.
Belle.
Nice? Yeah, sure. That's better. Easier.
Okay, Chibnall, you got away with your crazy names this time. But yeah, Blake Harrison is so well cast here, because yeah, he's funny and awkward, but he's also really good at selling desperation, much like all of the other people on Pisano, who gather to watch Azure take them all away in Passenger, presumably towards salvation, but Belle appears to know otherwise, and manages to rescue Namaka against his will. Belle mentions hearing of Passenger forms from her last deployment. She mentions her and Vinda being deployed before, but deployed by who? Was she one of the hidden identities from Once Upon Time? Interesting stuff, but either way, she rescues Namaka whether he wants it or not, and the two part ways on bad terms. Also, shout out to Rashenda Sandel, who's really creepy here as Azure. On a first viewing, I wondered whether or not this subplot worked in the episode, but now I personally find it conceptually more interesting than the stuff with Yaz and Dan. I like seeing how Swarm and Azure are making moves in the wake of the Flux, and taking advantage of desperate survivors and claiming more hostages again with Passenger, if they are indeed becoming hostages again like in Once Upon Time. Basically, bring on next week. But back to the A-plot. Because the Doctor noticed the floor plans earlier, she's able to plan an escape with Jericho and Claire. They take the tunnel, which appears to have some angel markings on the inside and arms poking through the walls. As explained by Peggy, it seems the angels arrived in this large rock in 1901 and have done some quantum extraction doohickey to place the village out of time. Honestly, it's super vague, but the episode drops the term in like we should already know what it means and how it's applied to the village, even though it's not really set up. Anyhow, the Rogue Angel has done a trade. Rather than turn itself into Division, now that the Doctor's here, she's a more valuable target, this being the Rogue Angel's plan all along. The Doctor is then formally recalled to Division and encased in stone, taking the form of a weeping angel in this beautiful ending shot as the Doctor sprouts wings and is rendered immobile, with Dan, Yaz and Jericho helplessly watching and trapped in 1901. Due to the Chibnall era focusing mostly on standalone stories prior to Flux, there aren't many cliffhangers to choose from, so I'm pretty confident in calling this the best cliffhanger since War Enough in Time. It's tense, genuinely scary, the imagery is suitable for a family audience but carries really powerful connotations. It's incredible. Also, shout out to Segun Akinola's music during these closing moments and his new theme for the Weeping Angels. It's amazing and it just further ratchets up the tension. Then, as a blinding white light takes us into the credits, we hear the bass line has been removed, almost like you're listening to the music underwater. The heartbeat of a Time Lord is absent. Is the Doctor dead here? It's such a brilliant touch and... Oh, what's going on here?
I'm on my way.
Huh. But I don't know if I like this. I'm pretty sure this scene could have been placed earlier in the episode. I think if you're going to give us that cliffhanger and make that alteration to the credit music, maybe don't kill the mood by cutting to Bel and Vinder. The scene itself, I gotta stress, is really nice. I like that Namaka is still here and guiding any visitors he finds, and that he regrets the last thing he said to Bel before she left. The music here is really nice. I love this shot of Vinder laughing or maybe crying, silhouetted against the starless, broken sky, before finding his resolve again and promising to find Bel. I think that thematically there is merit on ending on a positive note, that even though the Doctor is gone, that Yaz and Dan are trapped, out there in the universe there is hope to be found and heroes finding their path. But I'd argue you can still get that across by having this scene before the cliffhanger, before the credits. I think the ending credits should have played uninterrupted, but I'd love to hear arguments from those who disagree. Anyway, Village of the Angels. Many have called this the best episode of the series so far, and if we're just talking about the A-plot with the Doctor in Jericho's house with Claire, I think it belongs in the conversation. It's easily the scariest episode of the show since World Enough in Time, and the best showcase for the Weeping Angels since Blink. It's insanely well directed and put together, the stakes are high, the characters are well performed and well defined, Jodie is on top form, and the cliffhanger is insanely powerful. But as a whole episode, as a whole package, that Yaz and Dan subplot really does meander. The Peggy subplot doesn't really go anywhere, and I actually think the few cutaway scenes on Pisano outshine them. I also think there's some really sloppy storytelling here that I'm chalking up to some holdover elements if/when this was a standalone story pre-pandemic. But I don't want you to think that I didn't enjoy or see merit in those subplots, however. The highs of this story are incredibly high, but I think as an entire package, as a full episode, right now, War of the Sontarans is still the benchmark, but Village of the Angels was still a brilliant episode of the show that reminds us that even after 58 years and 39 seasons, Doctor Who can still elicit emotions that have us running behind our sofas. But join us next week as we follow Yaz, Dan and Jericho through their exploits in the early 20th century. Swarm and Azure are moving towards the endgame, and we're reunited with friends like Kate Stewart and foes like the Grand Serpent in Survivors of the Flux. I'll see you next time. Hey folks, thank you so much for watching my review of Village of the Angels. This one's come a little bit late this week, unfortunately, because I was set back quite a bit by the 1963 livestream that we did. Basically, I'm very happy with how it went. It was a huge success. We smashed our target goal of £1,963, and we raised in total over £2,600 for the film and TV charity. Thanks so much to everybody who watched. Thank you so much to everybody who donated, especially as well. But yeah, that's why this review's a few days late. I'm currently recording these credits at the end of November, and it is bloody freezing outside. Apparently it's -2, which is why I've got a hot water bottle that is also a dog. Seriously, it is very, very cold, and heating is expensive, so if you folks want to help me out with that, then please consider hitting that like button and also subscribing, because it really, really helps me out. And also, if you want to support my channel financially, you can become a patron, and you can also get your name in the credits like these wonderful people. You'll get early access to these reviews. By the time you folks watch this on YouTube, my marathon for December should have already started, my top 50 Doctor Who Revived series scenes, and patrons get those several days early as well. And I'd like to give a shout out to these particular patrons: Anne Neubauer, Andrew, Dean Jones, Andrew Blewett, Callum Baird, Daniel Davis, Dylan Whitaker, Flabu, Flipmeister MK, Jeremy K. Duncan, Leela, Matthew Perry, Michael Serrano, Nate Harris, Palex, Raven Woods, The Brit Sniper, Toby Loxton, Zachary Taylor aka Mario Fanboy 15, Dan Morrison, Nathaniel Holden, Samuel Brooks, Zarby555, Aaron Carver, Adam Grattan, Darius, Evil Dalek 79, Finley Rude, George is Lost, Ginger Animator, Harvey Smith, Jack D. Evans, Joseph Adams, Joshua McDonough, Kian Hartley, Ollie Tomlinson, Rebecca Hill, Ricky Temple, Ryan Duncan, Ryan Hindley, Samuel Whitaker, and Zach Conway. Thank you so much to all of my patrons. It is bloody freezing in here. I'll leave you all to it. I'll see you folks next time.